Good morning to everybody. We are here today to have a talk with Julien Isoré. He's a visual artist and he's doing a special thing that we feel can give a light for a next world, no? Through the art. I would like that Julian is presenting him because it's difficult for me perhaps to say, okay, how I present you, like the thing that you are doing. We know you are a visual artist, but this thing about forest art is really specific and is really special. Then how you present you when you talk about this?
Yeah, I've studied painting and I've studied law and biology, and forest art will be a meeting between art, law, and biology. So it's contemporary art because today it's cross media. In contemporary art, we use all type of media, and I'm using the media of the law and the forest to create monumental artworks. So I create big sculptures that are made of forest, and I'm changing the legal destination of forest into a patrimony.
Nice. We are so happy to have you here because we studied too through the science and the art. It's one of the points of our investigation always. In another way, it's about emotions, like a biologist thing. But for us, it's so you are in like in the same basis of investigating about the science, art, and law in your case, and the law is important too. Then what can you tell us to start to understand where are you coming from, to where this idea is coming from? And well, I leave you to explain us about this, and after that we will do some questions and some answers about what we have, okay? What we heard.
Okay, Jeremy. So this is a first communication of forest art. It's kind of people, you talk about sci art and bio art. So this type of art is a sort of radicalization of bio art with the creation of monumental artistic works made of wild nature. And in that sense, is the innovation I'm trying to make is to bring the law, as you said, inside this bio art movement. So it starts with a simple, very simple idea that you can have when you look, for instance, as a painting of a forest. This is The Fringe of the Forest by Gustave Courbet, who is a painter of the 16th century. And this painting have been bought by the Philadelphia Museum for around 400,000 euros. It's very interesting for me to say the price of this little painting, because if you think about it, a painting is just a fabric with oil and pigment, and then suddenly, because of an artist, he'd get the value of 400,000 euros. And the forest, if you look at the forest that is represented here, the forest doesn't have this price, because we know today that the price of a forest is only the wood you can get. And if we look at the painting, we will see that there is 4 big trees. One is too old to be sold, and the 3 others, they are more or less between 8,000 and 9,000 euros. So it's ridiculous, because we have a forest that have maybe 20,000 euro value, and the painting of the forest has 400,000 euro. And I will start to wonder why a painting of a flower is more valuable than the flower itself. In art history, every artist is saying that they are the messenger of nature. But if we are the messenger of nature, why do we create things that are more valuable than nature itself? Why the message is more valuable than the original thing? For me, that doesn't make any sense. And so I start to imagine a sculpture made of plants and nature. So for instance, this is the first sculpture that I did in 2011. In 2016, sorry, I did this, I used this dead trunk and I start to plant trees and plants around. This is at Cultivamos Cultura. It's an artistic residency for bioart. And I start to create sculpture made of plants. And I would like to, and after that, the end of my research, so it took me 7 years to develop forest art. At the end of my research, I did in 2021, last year, a sculpture made of 5.7 acres of forest in the upstate New York. And to do that, we need to use the law. We all know the ready-made of Marcel Duchamp, who put a toilet and create with the fountain and create a new object. So I propose, instead of the ready-made, I propose the ready-wild, which is working exactly the same. So to have an artwork by law, when I mean by law, I mean by the International Berne Convention that is protecting all the artwork in the world, you have to have an author, you have to have a human. Recently, the United States Copyright Office have refused intelligence artificial as author. So you really need a human person to create artwork. So in that case, we are 3 artists. So there is Kim Dong-Kwok, there is Alexander Romagna, and there is me, who are co-signing the artwork together. So we have 3 humans. And you have a collector, and you have a testimony. Basically, the testimony, you don't need it, but we had the opportunity to have a famous person to testify the contract. So we invite him to do so. You need a title. It can be untitled, but it is written untitled. So New Fontaine is the name of our first ready wild in reference of Marcel Duchamp Fontaine. You need to have the size and you need to have a limit. When you sculpt something, you create a limit over something. When you sculpt a piece of wood, you create a new limit around the wood. This is working exactly the same. We have a forest and we create a limit, and because of that limit, it's becoming an artwork. So we have a precise dimension, we have a precise description about what the forest is made of, and it's becoming a sculpture made of wild forest. And it's becoming protected by the International Convention of Berne. So it's constitutional. To understand why an international convention is more protectful than a local law, it's because of the hierarchy of the norm. There is 174 countries who have signed this convention. So all the constitution of all those countries are inferior to this treaty, and they need to be conform to that treaty to respect it. So every law, every national law have to respect the treaty. And so if you have a decree or a local law that is protecting an area, this is not constitutional protection. But if you have an artwork, this is constitutional protection. every artwork in the world are constitutionally protected because they are protected by an international convention. That is why we are creating with forest art a new system of value. And I wanted to share you these images to understand where forest art could be. Because forest art is inside the new global society, because it's not only this idea of the painting that is worse than that is worse than the real forest. It's also about what is happening today. Today we are living in the new society, in a new world where indigenous are talking to scientists, where the magic is meeting the objectivity, and shamanism is talking to laws and objectivity. And I was wondering what can be an art that is taking all of those new dialogue that is happening nowadays in our society. When you see COP24, where indigenous are welcome to talk with Occidental businessmen to understand what the ecology protocol and what the ecological politic we should do for global governance, you really understand that there is a new society that is happening. It's a horizontal society. And what is interesting with forest art is that it's an art that talks to everybody. If you talk to indigenous and say the monument is a forest, he'll agree. And if you say to Occidental people that the monument is a forest, he can understand, because in the Occidental art culture, we also have references. Joseph Beuys, for instance, in 1982, he planted 7,000 oaks at Documenta Castle in Germany. We have also Agnes Dennis, who planted a full tree mountain with 11,000 pines between 92 and 2013. We have Liam Emery, who's Celtic Cross in the 2000 with 3,000 trees. And we have also, for instance, Sébastien Lacroix with Air Cellulaire in 2010 in the art center of Van de Forêt, where I'm working now. The differences is happening after the 2010s, because all of those are monocultures. But after 2010s, we start to really understand better what is a biodiversity of a forest and the differences between monoculture and biodiversity. The knowledge of permaculture is surrounding all over the world, and now it's getting inside the culture of art. That is why if you look at the tree of forest art, you will see some influence of ecology, of Psy art, that's boy art that come from the 90s, 2000, but you will see also indigenous knowledge and permaculture. Because now, and the United Nations have declared the year 2020 as the decade, 2020-2030, as the decade of the forest. So now everybody is rushing to plant forests. But what about the already existed forest, already existed wildlife? That could be an option to protect them, to transform them into artwork and to celebrate them as our monument. Indeed, it's like we make art with the virgin land, the things that the man hasn't destroyed yet. But it's also inviting a non-human to participate to creation of collaboration in art, which is the plant. Nowadays, we are, since the 2010s, specifically, we start to admit intelligence of the plant, intelligence of the vegetal, of the non-human, of the non-animal. And the plant is collaborating with us. So if the plant is a performer, it can become an artist too. So now we are creating forest art as a collaborative thing, where we build the limit, and then after the forest is building itself, the sculpture is creating the movement, is creating the aesthetic, is creating the colors and everything by itself. So it's changing also our perception of beauty and of reality and of life, because art is not only political. It shouldn't be only political. I don't want my message to be only, okay, this is a technical thing to protect forests. No, I want my message to be also spiritual, because I'm an artist and this is what I do. And the spirituality is to invite humanity to go out of our anthropocentric vision and to start to be more horizontal and to see all the being as collaborative people, as collaborative being on the planet. So yeah, from a little question of a painting to this worldwide vision of collaboration between interspecies, I think we did quite a journey in art. And that is why I believe it can be a nice opportunity for this new society to embrace this new vision in art. Yeah.
I have some questions about then well, I feel is true. I don't know if we can see one more time your diagram of circles, of the 3 circles. This one, no, is super interesting how no, to talk about this, no, to be, about how shamanism and magic and emotions. I love that emotions are there, because the emotions, when you feel an emotion, you feel like an infinito, no, like things that it has no end. It's true that emotions could be in sciences too nowadays, but it's nice when you go through that. You've got ecology, biology, medicine, then shamanism, magic, emotions, through arts, culture, aesthetic is poetry, performance, trance. What's about trance? What's about trance? What you mean?
Trance is another level of performance. It's when you, for instance, the theater in the antiquity, they were drinking a lot of alcohol to perform, and they were in trance while
Okay,
performing.
I understand.
It's when the artist is going beyond himself and is going on this interactive theater where he's not controlling everything. Trance is when you reach transcendence.
Yeah, I understand. It's so nice, no? And how through art, culture, aesthetic, sciences, laws, objectivities coming via art, love art, politics, and how forest art, it's all that. I feel that it's great because you explain it there in the diagram, but I think it's a really great diagram and a really big thought for the people about what does it mean forest art. And it's so true and so nice that you, like an artist, are spiritual. Is true. And about this diagram, it's true that what you are talking about, I feel it's something that has to be discovered in some moment in a commercial way. And I don't mean that can be more or less interesting that, no, but I feel that this kind of art is like why people is buying paint for 100 million euro, and why people is not buying a land for 100 million euros, a forest land, a forest art land, And then I feel this is something to be discovered that's going to happen with you, or you are the beginner, or you are in the, you form part of this beginning. But I have some questions about all this. The first, if it's a forest art only if you register it, it has to be registered to have the constitutional.
No, it doesn't. Artwork doesn't function as registration. It's not an invention. You don't have to register anything, but you have to prove it's an artwork. And to prove it's an artwork, the best way is to create a contract, to have a written contract. That is why we made one, But indeed, a lot of historians are always trying to prove something is an artwork. But if you do you know the story of the banana, the banana who have been sold? There were a scandal a few years ago where banana have been sold as an artwork in a gallery for, I don't know, a very high price. And it's a banana glue on a wall with adhesive, a black adhesive. It make a lot of talks in the web. What's the difference between that banana and an adhesive and the artwork? It's the certificate of authenticity. This is something I can show you. Now the gallery they use. So after we sign the contract, we give the landowner a certificate of authenticity.
Good.
That we sign. This is not something that is obligatory by law. There is not even contract that is obligatory by law to recognize an artwork. But if you don't have this document, you probably will have to go to the court and have a lawyer, and everybody's trying to justify why this is an artwork. It's a proof you can make. Testimony, like you say, yeah, the artist came, I know him, I saw him, and blah, blah, blah. And the judge will have difficulty to agree this is an artwork if the proof are not strong. There is nothing more stronger than a signature and an authentication in the text. So basically, it's contract law. If you and me, we make a contract, and then after people say, yeah, it's a signature of Giovanni. Yes, it's a signature of Julien for sure. And then the judge recognized them, it's valid. But you don't have to register anything.
Good. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's like the writers, no? If you're the writer, then if I write something, the human rights make that mine, and that's art, and I don't have to do nothing else. But the truth is that if you have something that is registered, it's easier if you have any trouble, no?
Yeah, but
a register or certificate or saying this is or what?
Yeah. The registration, you need an institution to register everything, and it doesn't exist in art. In art, it's only private. Mm-hmm. So it's galleries, it's more, if you have a museum that is collecting the artwork, it's the best proof you can have,
Yeah, for sure.
But if you don't have the museum, for instance, there's a lot of those problems. Like sometimes we find artwork in gardens, sculpture, they're like little chapel and historian will wonder if it's an artwork or not because the guy was not famous. And slowly they finally find who he was, and people will recognize it as an artwork, and then it will become protected. It's like sometimes it takes time to recognize something that is made by men as an artwork because we need to find the author, the person who did it. And it's very interesting because of the decision that is made by the copyright office in the US about intelligence artificial painting, because a painting has been made by a computer, intelligent artificial,
Yeah.
And it wasn't recognized as an artwork because the tribunal said the invention is intelligence artificial and the computer. It is not the painting. So the authorship is the one who invented the machine and not the machine itself. So it's not an artwork.
Then
so anything that is creating by a machine is not an artwork.
Then it's important that another thing that I understand that it's important to have the permission of the owner of the land, no? Because I understand, no, or not, because you can go and say, okay, I'm going to make an artwork in a private place and then it will be protected. For example, somebody is going to build a big urbanization in somewhere and an artist say, no, I'm going to protect that place, and I go there and I make an artwork and they cannot move nothing.
Actually, it's an interesting question because if you look at Banksy or street art, they are putting artwork in someone else's property without their consent. And it's becoming valuable and it's becoming protected. So technically, it can be even possible because what is interesting with the Berne Convention, we need to understand, it's the exception of capitalism. It's the creation of capitalism and the exception. The Berne Convention is protecting cultural identity of states. You cannot say, if you take a movie of Woody Allen, you cannot say, I did the movie. No, you always have to say it's Woody Allen movie. Even if it's free, even if it's becoming free of use, because it's becoming public domain, the artwork is still protected with moral rights. You cannot say, this movie is mine.
Yeah,
and you cannot destroy the movie because it has a protection. And it's very interesting, the notion of moral rights. It's called the moral rights that is in the Berne Convention. And today we can see different lawyers who are trying to use the concept of moral rights for indigenous people to argue that the forest they are living in is part of their cultural heritage. And they're trying to defend the forest of indigenous through the moral rights, through the same convention we're using here in this artwork, to defend that the forest is a cultural artifact.
Wow.
And what is interesting is the Berne Convention doesn't define what is an artist. It only has to be a human. So it doesn't need to be a famous artist, basically. So if you have an indigenous or someone who is not famous or someone who have never done an exhibition, but someone who write this contract, who say, as an artwork, I'm selling this, and is writing all of this down, it must be accepted by the Berne Convention because it's on paper. It will be even more easy this than the famous artist doing a forest and without telling anybody. Because you have to understand that the law, it's all based on the proof. If you can prove something, then it's good. If you cannot, then it's harder.
Understand.
You know?
Yeah. And what about the materials? Because we saw natural materials all the time, but could be some, well, non-natural, or could be some other kind of materials in this kind of forest art?
Well, I think the history of art is answering the question. If you look at art history, many artworks have been made by so many types of material. And in land art, I don't know if you've seen the last land art. There is a huge land art that have been finally finished. It started in the 70s. It's in the desert. It's architectural. It's huge. And it's been finished this year. I don't get the name now, but it was finished like a week ago. And it is made of stones and it's protected. And it's protected by the Berne Convention. So if you make, for instance, if you look at the parks, Sintra forests in Portugal, the park of Sintra, They have been recognized as UNESCO human patrimony, cultural patrimony, and the park are included. They were planting the park on the side of the castle, and the parks and the plants are included in the patrimony. So you can have something that is planted, something that is not. You can have everything. And if you write a contract that is defining something in an artwork, it's becoming an artwork. So now we have reached the era that everything can be an artwork, even alive things. Marta de Menezes, she's creating butterflies with different type of colorways. She started that artwork in the end of the 90s, and it's an artwork. And it's recognized as such. And you have, so now we are selling protocols, you know. So if you work with biology and you define what is the protocol of a forest, you could sell as artwork planted forest all the time. If you use the Miyawaki's technique, for instance, the Japanese biologists who plant a lot of plants in the same place and it's becoming forest. You can sell it as a protocol of art, you know.
Good. And I have another thing I want to talk to finish, perhaps if you don't want to say something else. But I would like to talk about you explaining us one more time what's happening between 2020 and 2030, the 2020 and the 2030, because I think it's nice if you can explain a little bit more. And about, because you know what you say, I feel is something super revolutionary, no? If you use the law of the creativity, the creation, no, of the author, it can be so hard in a lot of ways, but I feel it's an opportunity to the world to do nice things for the land and for the world and for the ecology, you know. But then I would like, it's two questions. One, if you can explain a little bit more about 2020 and 2030 till 2030, and how you visualize this social change through your technique or through your work or through the opportunity of your work.
Yeah, the United Nations have declared the decade 2020-2030 as the decade of forest. To fight global warming, it took time for them, but to fight global warming, they realized that the forest was crucial. It was the center of the thing. It's not only to balance the gas emission and industry, it was really to focus on the forest and the white space to fight global warming. So they said states have two missions during that decade. The first mission is to preserve white spaces, and the second mission is to plant forests. Global companies, multinational states, at first they have planted a lot. So I don't know if you see, but there is a lot of people planting trees, planting forest everywhere, multinational planting trees, a foundation, private foundation, governments, everybody's planting. And why everybody's planting? Because it's creating economy, it's creating business. So it's much more easy things to do. Protecting wild spaces, protecting white forest is the most complicated things to do because white forest has no value. And so people don't want to protect it because we are in the capitalist society. So they prefer to plant than to protect. But the United Nations is clear. The first thing to do is to protect, because it's not the same effect. If you have a wide old forest, you have a lot of diversity and if you plant, you have a way less diversity because you will create something human, and the time it's becoming diverse, it will take a lot of time before it's becoming diverse again. So this is a political problem. And today there's a lot of people trying to find a solution to give value to the wildlife. And for instance, there's those people who are creating blockchain to put blockchain to wildlife and stuff. There's so many things, so many tries. For my point of view, I believe forest art can be an opportunity because art is always the thing that is creating value for ages, since the art history, since the history itself. There's nothing other than art to create value, because we can take something that has no value and create, by creating art, creating a value for it. And I believe that once something has value, it's becoming protected, it's becoming trade, it's becoming respected and considered. So this technique of forest art we develop it by law, because it's more easy to understand and it can be made by everybody. Basically, the contract that I made can be made by everybody. You just have to replace the name. You know, you replace the name, you replace the definition of the object, the definition of the forest. Every forest is unique, you know. The line will be different, the map will be different, but it's the same type of contract. What I did is I used a contract to sell painting, you know. I took a contract from painting, something you can find in internet everywhere, and I put a forest inside. The complicated thing was to have to define the forests, and you have to observe it. So I did it with Alexander and Kim, who helped me to go on the land, to measure, to see the main species who were there, to have a sort of a description of the forest in the contract. But I think this can be done by everybody. Imagine now with an application where you have application that recognize the plants. If you go in the land, you recognize all the plants that are in the land. You go, you register your map in your phone, and then after you sign it as an artist, you sign it as the owner of the land. You put the €1 sale or the price you want, and then after, boom, it's becoming another. I mean, it can be even automatized if we think about it.
Yeah, but at the end is happening, I think, something super nice that you're talking about, and it's about the respect and the protection of the nature. No, it's like we live in a society that we are not respecting and not protecting the nature. Like the most important thing that happens at the end is where we live is our capacity to be in a space where we can feel good, we can have a welfare state, you know, of the body. And I feel that, okay, perhaps it can sound a little bit radical, but at the end is like the radicals are perhaps us not protecting or not knowing how to help the land or the world, not to do all this, no? Then
Yeah.
that's a so important thing, no? And what you say, then I think it can be a big social, and at the same time, perhaps there is people who has lands, protected areas that they can be reevaluated like art. Perhaps there is people who saying, okay, I don't know what to do with my land, I can do nothing, is protected, but perhaps can be an art copyright and can be sold like that, and somebody can give that importance only to give an importance to the art nature, no, our forest art. No? Then I think it's something super nice what you are doing, and super beauty and super interesting. It can look like radical in some moment in the politician and laws way, but I feel first, like you said, it's spiritual. and it's art, and second place is nature, or first place is nature. But well, I'll leave you to talk. I don't know if Xavi wants to say something. Here's Xavi Arias. Brooke.
I think what about radicality, what you say, it's the aspect where I'm a bit fed up of the society. This is a sort of a provocation, like, okay, you don't understand what is valuable. You only love art. You only put money in art. Take it. This is art. Then it's kind of. I reached this moment where I saw so many forests destroyed, and so many painting of forests overprotected with alarm and with ridiculous prices. It doesn't make any sense, because we will only have a painting of forest and no more forest at the end. It's ridiculous. And so the radicality comes from this critique of the society we have. So what I like about this proposition is that it's a critique, but it's also a solution in the same time. And it's playing with irony. Okay, you only understand art, take it. This is art then, So I'm trying to play the both. I don't want to be only the critic. I don't like an art that is only criticizing the society and push you down. I want to propose an art that is giving a solution to and healing. I believe now we have to, as artists, we have to heal, not only criticizing what is wrong. We have to provide solution. If we as artists are the master of creativity, then let's go for it. Let's create it to heal. I think.
I don't know, Xavi, do you want to say something?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting talk. Yeah, for what I understood, maybe the problem that we have as a society is this incoherence between the value of our ecosystems as considered as the value of their exploitation, no? Of how much we can take out of it. And here it's with this project, this new conception of art and forest art, I think is pointing exactly to this nonsense of how can the painting have more value than the real thing, and how can we protect more the picture than the real thing, no, with alarms and the security systems. And I think it's amazing that you are pushing in this shift of conception of the value of our ecosystems, also as part of us. No, we are also part of nature, and it's really interesting. And I hope, yeah, this will help for society to change this and to evolve a new way of evaluating what we have, no, our ecosystems. That is the most valuable thing at the end, no? If we lose the ecosystems, we lose everything. And the forest is one of the main ecosystems, no?
Yes, really thank for your talk too.
Yeah,
feel
the ecosystem. What's interesting with that word is that there is a core and system, and where the artwork is getting inside this ecosystem, and the artist was something very separate from ecosystem until now. It was only the monument and the cavern, the mountain, the buildings, the city. And now we are making this monument in interaction with this the system of life. So in that sense, I think it's changing a lot our vision of reality and of beauty and of life. Yeah.
Well, I want to give you the thanks. I think that it's so, I'm so happy, so glad to have this conference here in Festival Silio. It's a festival about theater, about emotions. You were talking about that too. But the truth is that the human people is living in a context. The context is the world. And then we need to talk about that and about the art. You were talking about a lot of things that they are from theater too, like the magic, the rituals and all that. And it's coming from the land, from people who was living and touching the land and protecting it and having like sacred place. Well, to finish, I want to give you the congratulations. I feel that art sometimes is going like 3 decades or 30 years or 100 years before the society. In this case, I don't feel that. I feel that is the moment for your art. I hope is going to, because I feel is the moment that politician people is asking for solutions. I feel it's a really nice solution because it's talking about the maxima capacidad, human maximum capacity, that's the art. Then for me, and well, really impressed, and I want to give you a big hug. I hope you are coming to Mallorca to visit
I
us.
wish it would be great. I love
And,
Mallorca so much. It's
and
beautiful.
well, and thanks, Xavi, to make the contact with Julien, because it's possible to have Julien here because of you, and people can see recorded this on the website, and I hope they can have a good thought after hearing it. Well, big kiss and big hug for all of you.
Big kiss too. Thank you so much for having me. It's always nice to share this. I'm doing this research for 7 years now, 8 years now, and I'm very happy to reach that level now and to be able to be clear about it and to share it. So if you have any question, if people want to contact me, I'm on Instagram, I'm on website, they can find my email, they can contact me.
Yeah. We will write it in the video. In the video, we will put your contact at the beginning if you send us, okay?
Everybody's welcome.
Okay. Well, then, big thanks. I have to say bye. I've got my technician here waiting too. It's
Yes.
Joan. I want to give him thanks to Joan.
Thank you.
And well, then see you and we talk. We keep talking.
Yeah, see you soon. I hope.
Soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, una abraçada. Gracias. Muchas gracias a todos.
Besos.
Besos.